thanks for watching the video. If you could do me and the channel a favor, hop down to the comment section and let me know what decks you guys want me to make next. And while you're down there, if you could drop a like and subscribe, it'd help out a lot. With that being said, enjoy the video and have a great day. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are going over a Raging Bolt EX deck, and this is a bit of an upgrade from the previous one that I posted, at least I think so. I'm a really big fan of this. We include the Noctowl tech in here, so let's hop right into it and get after it. So we got 3 copies of our main attacker, which is Raging Bolt EX with 240 HP. It is an ancient type. Burst Roar for 1 colorless, lets you discard your hand and draw 6. And then Bellowing Thunder for 1 electric and 1 fighting, deals 70 damage for each energy that you discard from your Pokemon. It does have a whopping 3 retreat cost, but that's fine. We can live with that because the deck just kind of functions so that most of the time we're fine with it and we don't need to rely on that. Moving on, we do have the 2-2 line of Hoothoot and Noctowl. Noctowl is an incredibly powerful card where if you have a Terra Pokemon in play and you evolve into Noctowl, you get to search your deck for any 2 trainer cards. And it's not just like limited to items or supporters, it is any trainer cards. So really powerful here. And obviously you need a Terra in play. Well, but our main attacker's not Terra. Yes, but Raging Bolt is almost always paired with Teal Mask Ogerpon, which is a Terra typing, as well as we have an Ogerpon in here, which we will go in, Cornerstone. So this Teal Mask is going to act as our Terra, so we can use those Noctowls, as well as Teal Dance, which lets us attach a basic grass energy and draw a card. So this works as a draw engine, it works as energy acceleration for our Bellowing Thunder to discard more, and it works as a Terra typing for our Noctowl. So really powerful card, very functional in this deck, and pairs well with just about everything here. So we have 3 copies of those, 3 copies Raging Bolt, 2-2 line of the Noctowl. We do have 2 copies of Squawkabilly EX in here to really make sure that we can use that Squawk and Seize on our first turn, because this deck can search for those turn 1 donks as well as maintain power throughout the rest of the game. So 2 Squawks in here because when the donk is presented to you, you want to be able to get it. And Raging Bolt has kind of always functioned that way. And since this deck really focuses on being able to survive turn after turn after turn instead of just all in on that turn 1, having the 2 Squawks in here to guarantee that we can, if we have to, pretty much just makes it so that the donk is still a very viable option. And then we also got 1 copy of Fan Rotom in here, which just like Squawk, you can only do it on your first turn and only once during your turn. You get to search your deck for 3 normal type Pokemon with 100 HP or less. Now that's going to be our Hoothoots or Noctowls. More times than not, there's going to be 2 Hoothoots and 1 Noctowl, or vice versa. Well, it will always be that, unless something's already in hand or prized, because that's going to be able to get that online fast. And as well as, this Pokemon has, for 1 colorless, 70 damage, but there has to be a stadium in play, but that's okay, because we play 3 different stadiums, well, 3 stadiums in this deck, and 70 damage is just enough to knock out a bunch of baby Pokemon. So that's Dreepies, that's Charmanders, that's opposing Hoothoots. There's tons and tons of baby Pokemon in this game that people search out with their buddy Poffins and then can become targets for the Assault Landing Fan Rotom. This also acts as a single prizer that we can promote in a GIF to try and mess up our opponent's prize trade with that. Another backup attacker we have is going to be Sandy Shocks, 120 HP. It is an ancient typing, so it can also be targeted by our Professor Sada. And Magnetic Burst deals 20 damage, but if you have 3 or more energy in play, which this deck almost always does due to the help of Teal Mask, it deals 90 damage. Unfortunately, it is not affected by weakness, but that is only a 1 fighting energy attack. And then it also has Power Gem for 1 fighting and 1 colorless. It deals 60 damage, but that is that's not really used, I'm going to be honest. 1 copy of our Fezandipiti EX in here to act as a bit more of a draw support Pokemon for when we take knockouts or get knocked out. And then we do have 1 copy of Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX in here. So this is another Terra Pokemon for our Hoothoots and Noctowls. But Cornerstone stance acts as a wall, so prevent all damage from attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon with an ability. So we're already running the fighting energy for our Raging Bolt, so having this in here opens up the ability to use Demolish, which deals 140 and can hit into things like Mimikyu, which the normal attackers in this deck, other than Sandy Shocks, cannot do because Demolish is not affected by weakness, resistance, or more importantly, any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So that'll get rid of things like Mimikyu's attacks, Neutralization Zone, which I don't see played really ever, but definitely it'll hit around that. As well as things like Terapagos, if it has Boufflance in play, 60 damage reduction is just ignored by the Demolish, things like that. So very important card in here. A bit of an entertaining tech in this deck that I'll get to go over in a second here. Moving on to trainers, we have one copy of Countercatcher, one copy of Unfair Stamp as our ace spec. This is just really defined new cards, I'm going to be honest. It works as a Iono, but for our turn, as well as being able to reach and take big knockouts, like targeting a Fez, say, and then unfair stamping our opponent later on in the game, like targeting the Fez, unfair stamping, and then knocking out the Fez. Just an incredible combination that can really put our opponents in a really bad spot. So great hand disruption here. One copy of Energy Retrieval, so we can keep recycling that energy for our Bellowing Thunder attack. One copy of Pokégear 3.0, just to see a few more supporter cards if we have to. Two copies of Night Stretcher for both energy and Pokemon. One copy of Pal Pad, so we can recycle most of the time our boss's orders, but maybe that could be a Sada there. 4 copies of Nest Ball, make sure we can get a nice setup. One copy of Bravery Charm, so we can push our things out of general knockout range. So right now our Raging Bolt has 240 HP, so 4 discard from an opposing Raging Bolt takes the knockout. By adding that Bravery Charm, they need to discard another one. As well as putting things like our 210 Pokemon, just really messing up our opponent's math at times. Just put it wherever. It goes on basic Pokemon, so the only thing that can't use it is Noctowl. Anyway, 2 copies of Boss's Orders, 1 copy of Iono, and this is that interesting tech I was talking about. 1 copy of Ogre's Mask. Choose one of your Pokemon EX in your discard pile that has Ogerpon in its name, and switch it with one of your Pokemon EX in play that has Ogerpon in its name. Any attached cards, damage counters, special conditions, turns in play, and other effects remain on the new Pokemon. So this can be used to swap into or out of a Cornerstone with one of our Teal masks. So if we have a Teal mask on our bench, say, and our opponent is playing Charizard, they're not expecting it. They think it's just going to be a regular Raging Bolt matchup. We can use Teal Dance once or twice, be able to get energy that way, attach one fighting for turn, and then we can Ogre's Mask into a Cornerstone, and suddenly our opponent is left wondering what the heck they're supposed to do. And that's just an example of how it works. Obviously, if you have, say, a Cornerstone in the active on your first turn and you don't want it there, you can swap it with a Teal Mask after discarding it. Something along those lines. Just a really nice card to have in here to bounce back and forth between the two, and you can really catch your opponent by surprise with this. 1 copy of Beach Court to give our stuff, most of our stuff, free retreat, as well as being able to bump our own Area 0 Underdepths. 4 copies of Professor Sada, obviously, to make sure we can get that energy back, as well as draw a few more cards. Just really powerful here. 1 copy of Superior Energy Retrieval, again, getting energy back so we can keep recycling that attack. 2 copies of Area 0 Underdepths. Now, like I was saying, Cornerstone and Teal Mask are both Terra Pokemon, so we're going to be able to use that big bench, which is kind of important here because obviously Squawk and Fan Rotom are only really useful on our first turn, other than that Fan Rotom being a 1-prizer that can hit for 70. And then our Noctowls, once they're used up, are pretty useless. So being able to get that big bench and then maybe bump it at a later turn with our Beach Court is going to make it so that we can get those liabilities out of play, as well as maintain bench space. So 4 copies of Ultra Ball and 4 copies of Earthen Vessel are going to let us find our Pokemon and energy, but also discard cards that we need in the discard pile, which would either be an Ogerpon to use Ogre's Mask or energy to use for Sada. And then as for the energy spread, we have 3 copies Electric, 3 copies Fighting, and 6 copies Grass. So that's the deck. That's the whole 60, and I'm going to hop into the playtest here. I hope you guys enjoy the watch. Alright, so you're going to have to bear with me. I am doing a voiceover because my mic was accidentally muted at the time of recording this. So right now I'm going over how this deck does prefer going second, but we can definitely survive going first. Just because when we go first, we're able to evolve our Noctowls sooner and get access to those those trainer cards that way, whatever 2 we might need. But going second, obviously, we can aim to get those donks with our Raging Bolt. So going second is preferred, but first obviously does not hurt us at all. So opening up here, we do get the Squawk in our starting hand. Probably going over what game plan there is. So we go put the Teal Mask Ogerpon into the active. Now this hand is very squawkable, obviously. We're going to try and get some more Pokemon and play with that Ultra Ball. So yeah, probably bench Squawk here. Nest Ball, my guess is Fan Rotom. Yep, it was Fan Rotom. Now we get to use up some Ultra Balls here because we know we're going to Squawk, so we're going to use one of them right away. We don't love losing the Noctowl and the Night Stretcher, but I mean, sometimes you just have to do that. We do grab a Raging Bolt off the Ultra Ball, just to get an attacker kind of established, you know, have it in play at the very least. Then we go ahead, we want to Squawk and Seize here before we use Fan Call, because if we use Fan Call and then Squawk, obviously we're going to be discarding all of those cards that we just got off of our Fan Call. So we go for some Teal Dance and see an Electric. Then we get to use our Fan Call right away, get a nice healthy board on this first turn, get a decent setup. And as you can see, this is the mirror matchup. I believe I just pass here, because I was thinking we could attach, oh no. So we discard the Electric, because that way it'll be available for Sada next turn. And then we grab a Fighting and a Grass. So we can attach the Fighting and use the Grass for Teal Dance next turn. And then I do retreat and give them, I think, Fan Rotom. Yep. Just so that my opponent cannot take that 2-prize knockout right away, because Raging Bolt is a very fast deck. And that's why my opponent chose second. Alright, so my opponent, they got Raging Bolt in the active, and then they're just filling their bench up here. Put down a Bolt, put down a Radiant Greninja, which is a wonderful card. It's such a shame that that's rotating out. Getting to see a couple of cards here. Now we do have one Noctowl in hand, so we're definitely going to have access to a lot of different things. A lot of different openings are presented to us because of that Noctowl in hand. And my opponent is going to get to Sada, so they have that Bellowing Thunder available this turn to them. Benching a Teal Mask. So they also get the effect of Area 0 Underdepths because of that Teal Mask, so big bench. Going for the Ultra Ball here. I think they find a Squawk off of this, just so they can see a few more cards. Trying to figure out what they want to discard. There goes a Counter Catcher and a Energy Retrieval. And yep, they go into the Squawk here. Drop that in. And if I remember, they like took a couple minutes here. Well, not a couple minutes, but they took their sweet time thinking. They had some cards that they weren't so sure. So my opponent is debating here whether or not they actually want to use Squawk, which, in my opinion, that should have been done before you finalized it with the Ultra Ball. Because obviously you're giving me a 2-prize Pokemon there, especially if you don't use it, then it just sits on your bench doing nothing. So my opponent is debating whether or not they had made that mistake. At least I imagine that's what's going through their head. They do go for the Prime Catcher play, so they get to switch as well as promote one of mine. So that's why they were debating that Squawk so heavily, is because they didn't want to get rid of their Prime Catcher, but they weren't really sure if they wanted to use it, because now they need to be able to get a rescue board or a switch or something, and then they Squawk away a Boss and a Sada. So quite the costly Squawk, I'd say. They had to use their Prime Catcher and they had to discard a Sada and a Boss. They do stick a Bravery Charm on that Squawk, which I don't think the math actually helps them at all there. Oh no, it does. Wait, no it doesn't. We would have to discard 3 anyway. So the Bravery Charm on the Squawk was not the right play here. because they can already see that they are going against the mirror. I'm playing Raging Bolt, so putting the Bravery Charm, it would have been much more valuable on either a Teal Mask or a Raging Bolt themselves. We do draw into an Earthen Vessel here, so we're going to get to see a lot of things happening on this turn. Thankfully, because our opponent had to use Prime Catcher, well, they didn't have to. They could have just squawked it away. Since our opponent felt that they needed to use Prime Catcher to get our squawk into the active, they do miss the attack, which is really nice, but now we're stuck with this Squawkabilly in our active spot. So we can find a Beach Court here off of our Noctowl to retreat it, or we can attach and retreat. We do go into the Noctowl, Jewel Seeker, and it looks like that is what we're going to do. We're going to go for the Beach Court so we can move that Squawkabilly. And we also grab a Nest Ball. This way we're going to be able to fill our bench a little bit more, get to 6 on our bench, and then when we use our Beach Court, we can bump that used up Noctowl. Now, I would have loved to get rid of the Squawk here by bumping our Stadium, but since that Squawkabilly is in the active spot and we need the Beach Court to get it out, we cannot target that. So it would have been awesome if we could have gotten rid of our Squawk here, but I believe we settle for getting rid of the Noctowl. Go for the Earthen Vessel. We get rid of Ogre's Mask because we recognize that in this mirror matchup, Cornerstone Ogerpon is not really that useful to us. We do grab an Electric. Do I attach? I do, it looks like. So I attach for turn instead of using Sada. That way we're going to have access to boss's orders. Go for a Teal Dance just to see some more cards here, as well as get energy to discard. Teal Dance again. We find another Area 0, so we can use that as backup just in case we need to get that big bench again. We do drop in our Beach Court, which means we have to discard one Pokemon, which can it's a very easy decision. We get rid of that Noctowl because now it is useless and just taking up space on our bench. That'll also give us free retreat for that Squawk. And now we can definitely do some things with this Raging Bolt here. So since we were able to save our attachment for turn, we don't have to Sada, which is really nice. Because, like I said, that gives us access to boss. We keep our supporter for turn. Here, I believe I was talking about how I was debating bringing up the Fez, because they only have 2 cards in hand. And it looks like I do. Yeah, I bring up that Fez, figuring they have 2 cards in hand, not a lot of energy in play. Hopefully, I'm able to basically freeze my opponent by taking rid of their Fez. Because 2 prizes is 2 prizes. I wasn't sure if I wanted to take out the Raging Bolt with energy or the Fez, and it looks like I do go for the Fez, taking away that draw option for my opponent. We do go ahead, discarding 3 for 2/10 on the dot, taking the first 2 prizes, even though we went first against the Raging Bolt. So taking those first 2 prizes is very, very important for the 2-2-2 prize race that we have going on here. Which, thankfully, this deck is flexible enough that we can promote our Fan Rotom when we need to, so that we do have the option of messing up our opponent's prize trade. My opponent does get a Teal Dance off. They had a Grass in hand, or they drew it. So they're getting to see another card here. They bench another Teal Mask. And they have the Iono, so unfortunately they do get to see a bunch of cards and make this turn a deal. We do draw into Raging Bolt and Sada off of that Iono, so we're really not too punished by that, other than the fact that our opponent does get the opportunity to do many more things. Go for a Teal Dance to see another card and get some energy in play. There, I think I was checking to see if they had attachment for turn, because they do need 1 more energy in order to knock out this Raging Bolt, because I did put that Bravery Charm on it. So I mentioned that in the in the deck review where Bravery Charm can really mess up our opponent's math at times. So they are going to Vessel and be able to get that attachment for turn here. But since we have both Raging Bolt and Sada in our hand, there's a good chance we're able to do quite a bit this next turn. I don't remember. I know one of these turns we actually do miss, but let's just wait and see, shall we? Yeah, our opponent is kind of deciding what their plan of attack here is going to be. Probably gauging whether or not they think I'll be able to respond. And they do just attach to the active Raging Bolt. And I believe they go for the Bellowing Thunder for knockout, discarding all of their energy in play. So really nice. We've kind of, little by little, forced our opponent into this really awkward position where they're already fighting from the back end. That Bravery Charm was quite pivotal, meaning they have to get rid of everything. So now they need to use a Sada in order to attack next turn, which takes away the option to boss. We do go into Teal Mask here. The reason we don't just go straight into Fan Rotom is because if we end up needing to play Area 0 Underdepths to use our Fezandipiti most likely, then we'll have that as an option that we can use Teal Dance to retreat, get the energy that way and retreat right away. We attach an electric and we draw into a dead hand. So yeah, I believe this is the turn that we missed the attack. So we just burn the Pokégear. It's one less card in our deck if we get Iono'd. And unfortunately, we don't even hit anything. So here is when we retreat into this Fan Rotom to mess up our opponent's prize trade, because they cannot boss and Sada. So they have to knock out this Fan Rotom, because they already used their Prime Catcher as well. Opponent goes for a Teal Dance here. Now at this point they have plenty of cards in hand. I'm more than confident that they'll get knockout on this Fan Rotom. But I am perfectly content with that because, again, they'll still need to knock out 2 single prize Pokemon, or they're going to have to boss that Hoothoot, which does not feel good. So again, they're just kind of sitting here contemplating. They go for another Teal Dance, trying to see as many cards as they can before they have to make any finalized decisions. Yeah, I'm just checking out. I think I was looking for how many Night Stretchers we were down in order to try and use that Noctowl. Our opponent is just sitting there thinking a little bit, trying to figure out what they can do to try and work around messing up their own prize trade. They do go for a Pal Pad. I believe they recover Iono Boss. See, yep, they grab Iono and Boss's orders, just to have those as options for later on. They do attach for turn. They got an Earthen Vessel. And they have not used concealed cards yet, so they can use that to see a few more. They discard a Raging Bolt, which at this point in the game is right. That's correct. They do grab double Grass. So they'll be able to use those Teal Dances on a future turn. And they go for the Sada, so they're going to get their energy in play, get some stuff on both of these Raging Bolts, and see 3 more cards. They go for the concealed cards, just again, see a few more. as well as they know that they have options for this next turn. We know they have energy in hand, all that. And then I think they just pass. Energy Retrieval here. Was it Double Grass? Yep, Double Grass. Again, making those Teal dances available on that next turn, so they can see as many cards as possible. Yeah, my opponent is really trying to figure out if there's some line that they can pick out, and they cannot because they don't want to mess up their prize trade with that Fan Rotom, which would also give me access to Fezandipiti. We draw into a boss's orders here, which just does not help us at all. I believe we boss up the Squawk, I think, which in hindsight I should have bossed up the Raging Bolt with 1 energy, because I kind of forgot about Beach Court here. I was like debating what I should bring up, and in my mind I was like, oh well, they have to attach retreat and it's just 1 for everything, or they just attach and attack with the Raging Bolt. So here I'm like debating it, thinking, well, just pull that up, and then I decide we go for the Squawk here even though it has free retreat from the Beach Court, so a bit of a misplay on my part, that's for sure. But in a way, this is fine, because even though they have free retreat, I suppose it doesn't matter. I don't know what I'm blabbering about. It was a misplay. I should have brought up that Raging Bolt that only has 1 energy. That way they would have been forced to either find a Sada or another energy to attack, and otherwise they still have that. So they could have attached the grass and retreated into their other Raging Bolt, but that wouldn't have felt good. So that definitely was the proper play. Unfortunately, as you guys saw, I did second guess myself and go for the Squawk. I think I was counting how many Sadas they had used already. They stick another Bravery Charm onto one of their Teal masks, which is good because that does, well, good for them. That's smart, because that will mess up my math. Although sticking one on the Raging Bolt is also a very viable option, which I'm not even sure. I think sticking it on Raging Bolt would be better, because you're gonna have that in the active anyway, so you would force me to use a boss or discard 5. So I'm actually not sure how that works out statistically wise, if it'd be better to put it on the Raging Bolt or the Teal mask. I would put it on the Raging Bolt personally, because that'll already be in the active. And if you look at the timer on the right there, you can see just how much my opponent has been contemplating throughout this turn. Well, throughout all the turns really, trying to figure out how they can get ahead, because again, this Fan Rotom, forcing them to take 1 prize card has just been absolutely phenomenal. Really messing up my opponent, because they can't Sada and boss in the same turn. Here I believe I'm talking about if they have the boss, then we're going to be in a difficult spot, but if not, then we're going to be in a really nice one. If they don't have the boss here, then well, I suppose we would have needed, we're not in a great spot. I'm going to be honest. So they do just pass. They don't have the boss's orders to take a knockout, and we do see a Sada, which is absolutely phenomenal, because that means we're going to get to see more cards, which with this current hand we definitely need. So we stick the fighting onto our Raging Bolt, and we see an Earthen Vessel, which we're absolutely so happy to see. We know that the Cornerstone is useless in this turn. We're going to grab Double Grass here, be able to see more and more cards with those Teal dances. There's only 14 cards left in deck, so there's quite a bit left that we can do here. We find the Fez, go for another Teal dance, and we find an Electric. We still haven't attached for turn, but I don't think we do. I'm pretty sure we hold on to it. And so here I'm just contemplating what else I should do with this turn, and if I should go for this knockout, which I believe I do because I have Raging Bolt, I have Sada, and I have Energy, so I was like, you know, it only makes sense. Get these 2 prizes and be set up for the next turn. So bringing this Squawk into the active did work out in the end, after all. In hindsight, I should have discarded 2 from the Raging Bolt instead of 1 from each Teal Mask, because obviously this Raging Bolt is going to go down. So another misplay on my part, but part of how we learn. Because yeah, I should have been able to recognize, hey, this Raging Bolt is not going to live another turn. And even if it does live another turn, then I still have Sada Electric in hand. So I should have left an energy onto our Teal Mask to use for our next Bellowing Thunder. Our opponent does promote their Raging Bolt, one of their Raging Bolts with energy on them. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty confident. We have a really strong hand. I'm talking about how Iono would really, really suck if we got hit by it right now. We do go for another first Teal Dance of the turn. They Energy Retrieval to get all their stuff back. Did they, or was I not paying attention this turn? I don't know. They go for double Teal Dance, just seeing as many cards as they can, getting tons of energy in play for these Raging Bolts to discard. And what we're going against is like your typical Raging Bolt list that you'll see very often. But thankfully ours is just a notch above, having that access to those Noctowls, which we still have that benched Hoothoot. He's been chilling there this whole entire time. So we have access to this for such a long time. And we do get hit with that dreaded Iono that we were fearing. Losing game in hand, and we get Unfair Stamp and Iono. So this is where you're going to see our A-Spec get used. My opponent does Earthen Vessel here, away a Pokestop, figuring they want to keep that Beach Court in play and they don't want to give me the Pokestop, because that would allow me to find things like Earthen Vessels and Energy Retrievals. And at this point, our opponent has taken up twice as much time. Well, they have half as much time left as us. I'm not sure what the proper terminology would there be. But as you can see, our deck is just, even with these dead hands, it's flowing quite nicely. Just making things happen. We've both missed several attacks. They've missed attacks because my Fan Rotom would have messed up their prize trade. And I have missed attacks because they haven't taken out the Fan Rotom. So this is where having that single prize kind of target can really, really add up for us and be very helpful. My opponent does go discard energy from their Teal Masks and get the knockout here. Now Beach Court is still in play, so anything we promote is going to have free retreat. You take a look here, we see they've used 3 Sadas. Now we go into the Fan Rotom, because we know we need 4 energy to Teal Mask them away anyway. So here I'm debating putting this Area 0 in play, but I know that if I do, I won't be able to retreat my Fan Rotom and have enough energy for knockout. So I do just go for the Unfair Stamp right here, taking my opponent down to 2 prize cards and letting me see 5. And there's that Fezandipiti and the Area 0 and the Ultra Ball. So here I'm taking a bit of a risk because I have to Ultra Ball away an energy and a Teal Mask. Oh wait, no, actually, yeah, I do go for the Teal Dance here. And then that's where, because Superior Energy Retrieval is really nice, especially because I have tons of energy in my discard. So here I was having a bit of a dilemma, but I need knockout this turn because my opponent can probably find boss, or they have it, and that's what you always want to assume. You want to assume that you need to win that turn if you can. If you like, there's no point in me playing conservative this turn. At least that's how I view it. There's no sense in me playing super conservative this turn with that Fan Rotom in the active and hoping that they can't find knockout, when I can take a little bit of a risk here, discarding that Superior Energy Retrieval and Teal Mask, and go into it. This way, I can play the Raging Bolt down, retreat while Beach Court is active, and then I'll be able to go Area 0 Underdepths and Fez for 3 more cards. And since Unfair Stamp shuffles it in instead of putting it at the bottom, we do have access to everything that was gotten rid of. So we flip the script, and there's the Night Stretcher, and that one card is all we need because we play that super powerful Noctowl tech. So we go here, we evolve, we're able to find, I believe it's Sada and Earthen Vessel, or no, it's Sada Retrieval. We can Sada and Energy back onto our Raging Bolt. And we can see 3 new cards, but we don't need it at all. There's the Energy Retrieval. We could have grabbed Double Grass here. I mean, we could have grabbed anything because we have the fighting in hand from the Sada, or we have it from the Energy Retrieval. We get the attachment off the Teal Dance, and all we needed is that one card, that one Night Stretcher, and all of a sudden that Noctowl comes into play for clutch at the end of the game, and our opponent goes ahead and scoops right there. So a really great display of what this deck is capable of doing. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. The ending there, really cherry on top. So we messed up our opponent. Our opponent obviously suffered from that because knocking out that Fan Rotom would have only hurt them in the end, giving us access to that Fez turn after turn. So that's the 60. As I'm going over here, it's tons of fun to play, super duper powerful. So if you are a Raging Bolt advocate or just looking to give it a shot, this is definitely a list you should consider because this is very, very powerful. So go ahead, comment down below what decks you guys want me to play with next or build, as well as what your favorite tech in this deck is, and have a wonderful day.